Good?
Yep.
All right. All right, well, the meeting in order, we'll start with pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Turn it over to you guys. That's a good shade of red. I love it.
So thank you so much for letting us here to really recognize our students' accomplishments, not only in the music department, but also as a whole. So this past couple weekends ago, March 10th through 11th, a couple of our students in 5th and 6th grade had the opportunity to participate in elementary all county for band and chorus. So we had to do auditions prior and then also work on the music that was definitely new for most of us and for the kids, and also in different languages. So it was really cool and challenging to really enhance their musicality even more. So that weekend we got to rehearse, and then albeit there were some weather concerns, we still were able to put on the concert and everything that Saturday. So it was a wonderful opportunity, and I always tell the kids that I participated in elementary all county and junior high all county, all the all counties when I was younger, and looking back on it now, it was really a unique experience to meet kids throughout the county and really collaborate to make one great performance. So I have my award for Ava, who was in 6th grade for chorus. Tonight, but she will definitely give this her. So I'll turn over to Mr. Dunninger. Go ahead and go with the band kid.
Okay, hello everyone. So our 6th grade band students that participate in elementary all county, we have on flute Kira Fitzgerald. Matthew Glazer on clarinet. Matthew Rowland on trumpet. Ian Sullivan on flute. And Adriana Cadbury on clarinet. And I just want to add that the last elementary all county festival our county had was in March of 2020. And we all know what happened shortly after that. So students, you should be really proud. You helped bring back something that has been gone for a few years, and it's just great to see it all come full circle. So congratulations to you all.
All right, for our 5th graders, we have Harvey Bryan on trumpet. Phineas Snyder on alto saxophone. And Dave Spafford on clarinet.
Then for the 5th grade chorus students, we had 2 participants, Ebony Gonzalez.
Woo!
And then Jordan.
I wanted to tell you guys, I actually got a chance to go to the show. You guys are unbelievable. I mean, the amount of time you had to get together to prepare, and then the quality of the music was just incredible. I loved every minute of it. You also, when you're out at the schools, you're representing this district, and I can't say enough how well you all represented Millbrook. I wanted to say thank you and congratulations. Thank you, everybody.
Like to also add on what President Hartswick said, that Millbrook, for a school this size, has a wonderful, wonderful music program. And we have to thank the students and of course the parents who stand behind the students and make sure they practice to be as good as they possibly can be. So I want to thank our staff, parents, and of course, the students for making us always proud. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. And you're welcome to stay and listen to us. But thank you, everybody. And have a good night.
Oh, should they get a?
So, Brenda. I'm sorry. That's. Never. Thanks.
Worse.
I think you will say, it's always said her name. She really think about it. Well, I think, yeah, I think she came from that. I don't know how they do it. All right. Everybody's back? Yeah. All right, so next up is the consent agenda. Before we do that, anything you want completely pulled from the back? Vote? All right, do I have a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
All right, any questions, discussion? Anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right. Financials and warrants. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions, comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, next is the approval of 110, policy 110. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
What's that?
I don't know. I'll second.
Questions, comments? Concerns? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right, so all business, budget update. Could you just, no.
So we're just gonna, as we start every budget presentation, we start with the timeline update. So we just want to show everybody where we are on our street. So this is the meeting on the 28th. We have our next board meeting on April 18th. The board will be adopting the proposed budget and approving the tax report card. So I'd like to say that this is the final draft. Oh, and I don't foresee us making any further changes to either the expense or revenue side of the budget. So tonight we're going to be focusing on the revenue side. We've talked about the tax levy before. We did make some minor adjustments to the levy based on updated calculations of our debt service for next year. And we have already submitted that tax levy number to the state and amended it to reflect the number shown tonight. So again, our revenue sources for 23-24 our main revenue source is always property taxes and STAR program combined together with our state aid. That really represents the vast majority of our revenue. We also receive revenue from facilities use rentals, health and other services from other districts. And when we have children placed in other districts receiving services, we pay those districts for those services. They pay us for those services, so we return the payment. We earn interest on the money that we have in our various bank accounts. We also receive refunds from BOCES. Sometimes we overestimate our BOCES numbers, or they get adjusted mid-year, and anything that we don't expend gets sent back to us. And then there's Medicaid reimbursements and our fund balance appropriation. We'll talk a little bit more about fund balance a little bit later on in the presentation, but just kind of as a general overview, when we have unexpended funds in the current year, sometimes we will allocate a number of those funds towards next year's budget. It's really used as a balancing tool between the revenue and the expense side. So you're going to see a revenue number for fund balance appropriation. That just means that we're appropriating up to that number if we need to, should our expenses come in at the level we anticipate or prepare for.
So this is an estimated foundation aid chart. So if you notice, there's a 30% increase in aid for special services. That's for supporting students with disabilities. Typically outside the general education classroom, so something like related services or services that are provided to students outside that general education classroom. So more intensive services that they might need. Additionally, a really high increase that we're noticing is in the universal pre-K aid. So interestingly enough, it would be almost double. So that would be a really nice unexpected aid that we weren't expecting until these numbers came forward. So what I will say is I would think that it would also still be subject to like a proportion to our enrollment. So you can only utilize a portion of the aid per child. So depending on the number of students that we have enrolled, times a multiplier, for example, this year was about $5,400 a student. That's how much that we're able to actually benefit from this type of aid that's earmarked for universal pre-K expansions. One thing that I will say is that we do allow our staff members to bring their students in district Unless they are a resident of Millbrook, we cannot get aid for those students, so we do allow them to benefit from the programming here, but just something to be mindful of. If we have 40 students next year, but say 4 of them are non-resident staff members' children, we can only benefit from the 36 actual Millbrook students when it comes to this type of aid.
So that amount of money is the maximum that we
Right.
get, but we might not, depending on how many students there are.
Correct.
And when do we know, how many, when is
So,
application or?
yeah, it's ongoing right now.
Okay.
And then there will be screening for new kindergarten students, meaning those students who didn't go through our pre-K program. And then new pre-K students, those dates are in May.
Okay.
So I would like to say we'll have finalized numbers, but we probably really won't have finalized numbers until well into the summer. But these, this comes in like the form of an application through the state portal. And that's not typically due until fall. So we have plenty of time. You know,
When does per student do?
I don't, but what I do know is that it's an increase per student, so this particular year was 5,400 per student. I don't know what it will be exactly for.
But superintendent, to clarify, so anybody at home or any board member listening, that the staff students that are staff are allowed to bring students, it's more than allowance, it's part of each contract.
Correct.
It's a contractual thing, it's not something that we can just say no to anybody, nor should we. It's set up and approved by this board for certain reasons for attracting qualified people. And I understand what you're saying, but just make it clear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a benefit of the contract. The only implication is for this particular aid purpose. So they're still permitted to bring them. We just don't benefit from the aid on those students.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
That's okay. And I think everything else we had covered in a previous presentation about foundation aid, but those are the 2 biggest ones that we were looking at.
And just, again, all of this is subject to the state approving
Final.
the governor's proposed budget. So these are the ones that the governor proposed. We're hoping that the first the state government approves it, but we won't know until probably after April 1st. So, when we talked about the 8 categories, this is a snapshot of what all of our revenue projections look like for this year. So this is the revenue side of our budget. And again, just for those that may not be familiar, there's 2 sides of the budget coin. You want them both to total the same number. So you'll see at the very bottom, the total proposed budget for 2023-24 is $34,219,373. It is a 4.79% increase budget to budget. That's total budget in the current year and total projected budget of next year. We're projecting real property taxes and STAR to be roughly that total tax levy. So when we shared the tax levy number earlier, that's what we're expecting it to be. The full tax levy number in total is going to be 26. Again, revised slightly from what previously presented, $26,253,005. What we do is we break out that $875,000 as our estimation of where our STAR revenue is going to be based on this current year of 870. So those together represent our expected tax revenue. You can see our real property taxes are only projected to go up by 1.46%, although the total budget is going up 4.79%. That speaks to our increase in aid, our fund balance appropriation. So we're really trying to minimize the impact to our taxpayers to the best we can, given our other revenue streams in play. But we did add a column that shows the difference in dollars and percentages for all revenue categories to the best that we can predict. What you'll see is we're predicting a slight downturn in the penalties for taxes. A couple of things worth noting. We're increasing our expected revenue for interest and earnings. As you can see with inflation, you can probably see your bank accounts. So all the rates that they're offering you for car loans, mortgages, every bank rate is going up. We've already seen an increase in the rates that we're paying, which is not great, but we're also receiving more interest than we anticipated in the current year. So we used the current year's interest earnings over the last 6 to 8 months to project out what we think next year is going to look like. So there's a significant increase in the revenue expectation for interest earnings next year. And our BOCES refund, again, we're we're increasing what we expect to get from BOCES. We did get a significant refund back from BOCES beyond what we budgeted for this year. So that's also playing into our fund balance a little bit as well. But we're looking at a total fund balance appropriation for next year at just over $2 million. It's $2,095,112 that we're going to appropriate towards next year's budget to balance the budget. We don't anticipate having to spend all of it, but just as much as we prepare our revenue side of the budget with contingencies, this is another contingency we prepare on the expense side for contingencies. This is the equalization of that contingency on the revenue side. So that's where we are right now. Again, the bottom line, a budget to budget increase of $1.5 million is roughly 4.79% in the revenue budget.
So Ellie, I'm still confused by the BOCES refund.
Mhm.
I thought we were talking that we had more than we anticipated kids going there, and we were talking about where do we find the money?
Right, so this is, so what this is this is the refund projection. So we overestimate BOCES a little bit, right? Because at any point in time, conditions can change, families can move into the district, the needs of our current students can
This
change.
isn't CTI. This is
No,
the-
it's the
okay.
This is
total.
the total
BOCES
BOCES
bill.
bill. Right, and then that's worth clarifying, so thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Yep. Any questions on the revenue snapshot?
And that cell tower, when does that run out? Because we've had a number of discussions about
We
what
did.
to do in the future.
We have not received a notice of cancellation for the cell tower, so we understand that contract to continue in perpetuity until they notify us otherwise. There was a request to the size and scope of the tower to accommodate 5G service. We were not satisfied with the answer we received, and so we requested more information, still kind of waiting for it. But while we did not agree to augment the tower and change the terms of the contract, the existing contract does remain in place.
Okay.
So, the foundation aid comes with some strings attached. That is for any district who receives more than 10% increase or, $10 million. We are the 10% increase, from last year. Yeah, it would be nice to be the other one, but we're not. So, we actually have to seek public comment on the use of those funds. So there's a survey that's been prepared. It will actually go out before the week's end to get public comment. So this is not an open field of money. As you saw before, there are some categories within which these monies have to be appropriated. So once we have that comment back, we'll then create a plan of how this money will be earmarked for next year's spending, and that will all become public. It has to be written out in a plan on our website, and all of that comes with a July deadline, basically. So there's also a state portal that opens up towards the end of the school year for us to prepare the same and to supply that information to the state as well. So we'll be working on that over the course of the next couple of months. So families who are at home, feel free to respond to the survey. We will be sending it out with an email blast, so it will go to more than just who is listening. And also it says that it's not just parents, but it's also community members as well to make recommendations. So we will be posting it on our website for an opportunity for other community members to participate. Yes.
Do you put in there, like this can only be used for
Yeah,
bam, bam, bam,
yeah.
bam? Okay.
So it's categories, it's like to equalize for learning loss, right? Health and safety, mental health, those kinds of things. So like within that category, what are some ideas you might have? And then we might take it back, flesh it out, and create a program or something with relation to that. Just to be mindful that we still right now have some COVID recovery money that the district will also be able to spend next year. So even if it's not necessarily a foundation aid category, there will be an other option, like, hey, we'd really like to see our students benefit from this. And while this money might not exactly be something that we can utilize for that, we might have other money that we can use in that way. So if you have an idea, even if it doesn't fit neatly into one of those categories, please put it in the other, because it might be something we're not thinking about. You have a different perspective. So we can always use that to make decisions for next year.
Thank you.
Caroline, is this just the 10% plus that we're receiving?
No, it's,
The
no,
entire fund? that
yeah,
we're
so,
asking for?
but it's just you're subject to this requirement if you've received an increase of 10%. And I think that's really it for that, right?
I think so. So, we always, every year, we have to talk about what happens if the budget vote doesn't. So, if, the May 16 vote is not successful, the public does not support the Board of Education's adopted budget. We have two choices. The Board of Education can choose to go back for a second vote in June, or we can go directly to a contingency budget. Whether we have the second vote or not, if we do end up in a contingency budget, then we have to, now we have to pare down our spending to just what we consider absolutely critical to the purposes of providing instruction. So what they call ordinary contingent expenses will have to be examined and approved by the Board of Education. So for example, we don't stop paying teachers just because we're on a contingency budget. We still have to have teachers. They still have to come in, we still have to feed kids. There are certain things that we're going to have to do, but we will be tasked with paring down our other expenses that are non-contingent. And the board will be part of that discussion with administration to determine what's eligible and what's not. And we will not be able to exceed last year's tax levy. So the logic behind that is the public supported the current levy, and they're not supporting an increase to the levy. So that means we're stuck with the levy we have, given all of the contractual expenses that still go up. So there's still contractual salary obligations. The rates for our insurance and other benefits do go up. We'll still have to deal with those costs under the existing.
But in a lot of cases, things like sports and art and music, a lot of those end up going by the wayside if they don't fit.
So typically, those are the things that would be discussed as what's critical to program and what's not. There are some parts of physical education, sports, and music and performing arts that the board may deem critical because it meets certain needs, it meets certain requirements, credit requirements, things like that. So I don't want to say that they would completely come off the table, but certainly the scope may be narrowed down to just the fundamentals or the basics that are required for the academic portion of their, Blazer journey.
Very good. Okay. Any other question? All right. Oh, thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
All right, next is the president's report. I really don't have anything. We, other than you see the letter from Michael Reel. He's the third of the three candidates running for BOCES. So just to, he had written us a letter of, sort of introducing himself. But other than that, the Dutchess County School Board thing got pushed out till a week from Thursday, I think it is. So that hasn't happened yet. So anything, Chris?
I was just gonna say, they had a safety meeting today with staff and admin, and it lasted for probably 2+ hours, and it was just scenario after scenario, and I was very, pleased with the knowledge of the staff and the admins, and knowing all the procedures and the back and forth, and it was good. It was good just to see the preparation to keep our kids safe, and just the knowledge that all the staff and the admin had, so kudos to you.
Thank you.
All right, Caroline?
Sure. I have quite a detailed report, but I will go through just some highlights. As you well know, if you have students in the secondary schools, counselors are meeting with those students. They're creating course selections for next year, and this is what we'll build our master's schedule based on. So it's a really exciting time of year. It's where the students get to exercise their choice in their education. Of course, they have to take certain classes within certain subjects and earn those credits, but in terms of electives and how they earn some of their science credits or math credits may be very flexible, so it is very exciting for them. We are currently in the process of conducting annual review meetings for our students with IEPs. The middle school annual reviews, for the most part, have taken place at this time, and the other buildings are to follow. The exception to that would be some of our senior meetings have already taken place. I know Mr. Kirsch is working with the building principals and they're preparing for computer-based testing for our New York State ELA and math exams, which are right around the corner. Last week, we had some really exciting evenings, or Wednesday evening was really exciting. We were able to induct about 25 students into the National Junior Honor Society and National Honor Society at the middle school and high school respectively. So that was a really nice evening for those of you who were able to attend. We also have Ms. Holford, who's our supervisor of student services, is working diligently to prepare some exit surveys or to finalize exit surveys that they've been working on. So those will be administered to students who are exiting their buildings, Alden, middle and high school. So we'll get some really good data for those grade levels and in transition, which is really important for us because then we can continue to respond to the needs of our students using that information. At Elm Drive, Mrs. O'Connell and Mr. Mullins have been working on creating a sensory room. So some of the ordered items have begun to arrive, which is really exciting. That's starting to take shape. And then also Mr. Mullins is preparing the hallways for the sensory paths that were purchased as well. Ms. Wimmers, who is here tonight, she is our elementary music teacher, and she's working on bringing back the spring recital. So this will really be in the form of a celebration of music where students will sing and dance and play instruments. So it'll be really exciting and super cute to see. So I can't wait for that. I did include for the Board of Education the link to our most recent professional learning days, so you can kind of just explore some of the topics that the staff was able to learn about. And we did have some exciting information about our secondary and actually elementary STEAM fair as well. So the secondary STEAM fair was held in the beginning of March. The elementary STEAM fair was prior to that. And then this past weekend, we had some of our students, there were many more that were eligible to attend, but 4 who participated in the Dutchess County Science Fair. There were 4 students, Daphne Rowland, Justin Loibel, Paul Davison, and Lewis Decker. And Justin and Paul also were, they were honored for honorable mention for 7th graders. So that's super exciting for them and for us, right? Our students are excelling in science and music and so many things. So we're really proud of them. And then we had a capital planning meeting this past week. We included the architects, our construction manager, as well as our facilities subcommittee of the Board of Education. So they were able to look at some of the plans that we have or the potential plans that we have to update some of our buildings. When we're doing these updates, we're looking obviously at program first and then, you know, functionality in terms of what we're going to be able to do for our buildings so that it brings it forward into the modern times, but is also very functional. And we're really excited about some of the opportunities that we're going to have throughout that process. In school safety, we have created the partnership with the regional safety coordinators office down at Northwestern BOCES, as you know. One of the audits that they do is they do what's called penetration testing, where they attempt to gain access to our buildings, unauthorized access to our buildings. So we had 2 dates for each of those buildings, and some of those opportunities were at arrival and at dismissal. So those are the times when it's the busiest, right? Probably one of the times that we want to target in terms of shoring up safety and making sure that only people who belong here are welcomed here. So that was extremely successful. And I have some data where there was in almost every single case, the person never even made it to the door before they were greeted by a staff member, a concerned person. Someone was actually seen acting what a staff member believed to be oddly in the parking lot and didn't even let them get near the building before they confronted them. So I'm glad to see that people are being diligent, and you know, that situational awareness is obviously one of the most important things that we can have in terms of keeping our staff and our students safe while they're here on campus. I want to say thank you to Chris Rosenbergen. He did bring up the tabletop exercises that we worked through today. We had 2 retired New York State police officers with us. They both have experience, not just as state troopers, but also working directly with schools. One was a former SRO and one was actually the school and community outreach officer for Columbia, Dutchess, Westchester, and Putnam County for years. And Mike Freer, our deputy, was also in the room, so we went through rapid fire scenarios. And just kind of able to think through, what do you do, right? Here's a scenario, you have 90 seconds to think about it, and then it's kind of like a what do you do situation. I feel like there was really rich discussion that happened as a result of that, and also a request from one of the teachers on the district level safety team to do more exercises like this, including more of the staff, because it's not necessarily true that one of us who was in that room today would be the ones who are confronted with making that first decision of what to do, right? So I thought that was a really positive, thing that they're seeking even more training. So I think that's great. I want to congratulate our girls varsity basketball team. We will have them here to celebrate them in person at a future board meeting, but how exciting for them and for us that they won back-to-back New York State championships. So that's really awesome. It was a really great game for anybody that was watching at home. I'm sure it was something that you enjoyed. I was there in person. And there were some nail biting moments where, there's a little momentum shift, but our girls pulled through and did a really excellent job. We also had just recently some exciting events at the middle school. We had the spring fling this past Friday, which was super cute. The pictures are absolutely adorable. The students had so much fun. They were all dressed so nicely and they really enjoyed their time. And we also had the Scholastic Book Fair last week, which was sponsored by the PTO and an awesome opportunity for us to put books in the hands of our students. Spring sports have begun, so we'll hear more about the accomplishments of our athletic teams this spring season. As you just saw, it is Music in Our Schools Month, so lots of celebrating our music programs. And then we have some other information about budgeting. It's there for your perusal. We were able to recapture about $258,000 in COVID grants. And we were able to utilize that to offset staffing costs for this year's pre-K expansion. So that was great. We were able to recapture that money. And some of that money will also go to purchasing Promethean technology that will be utilized next year. So we'll be getting that in over the summer. And then we worked, myself, Ms. Chanowski, and the business office worked to analyze our special education costs, and we were able to decrease our projected special education budget for next year, which we're feeling positive about. We have enough seats should any of our students need an increase in programming outside of the district. We have enough. And we also have the opportunity to expand some of our in-district programming and still yet reduce our projected budget for next year. So we're pretty proud of that work. And then there in student services is just some more information about some of the programming that has gone on this year. So there's lots of SEL expansions. Berg's been working on the rollout and timeline of the Yale Ruler project. And then as you see there, and I'm sure you've seen them publicized, there's a couple of the presentations that have happened in the past couple of weeks. So with that, I will ask, do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Caroline.
Sure thing.
Let's see. Digital fluency, data privacy.
So there were a couple of things in addition to the report that I submitted to all of you that I want to highlight. The first of which was the software audit for the 2022-2023 school year. What we did was we elicited feedback from all teachers of what are the softwares that they're using, what are the softwares that they're not using, and look at the specific dollar value of the softwares that we're not using to repurpose those funds. And our conclusion was that we are going to eliminate about 14 different softwares and over 3,000 user licenses and use those funds to purchase new software that we as teachers and administrators want to see our community both. And another update was that for Mr. Barnes' Project Leadway Lab, we purchased 28 SSD drives. So basically what that means is that we increase the functionality, capability, and life expectancy in a short-term capacity for another year. What we decided was that we were going to do one of two things. We were going to either replace Jillian Barnes' lab or Jeff Barnes' lab. And when we were looking at the different costs that were associated with each lab, we decided to put a temporary short-term fix on a Project Leaderway lab and look at the cost analysis for replacing Jillian Barnes' lab. So we are in the process of collecting quotes for that. As Mr. Hernandez stated, we are bringing computer-based testing to all place and also to your middle school. So I want to thank Mr. DeBello, Mr. Lipka for their new efforts coordinated between our offices to ensure a smooth transition. Another update, we are looking to create an on-campus esports facility. It was talked about in our tech meeting, and it generated a lot of positive momentum. I want to thank Mr. Chanowski and Mr. Taylor for coming and presenting to the committee and talking about the positive aspects that that is having on our students. So we are looking at those costs, and we are looking at different financial avenues for bringing those facilities to Millville. We do have a major undertaking. We have a new student information management system called Synergy that we are looking to roll out for the 2023-2024 school year. So I do want to thank Dr. Watkins, the admin team, and everybody who's involved in this major undertaking. It is a complete district coordinated effort between secretaries, administrators, teachers, and everybody in between. So I do want to thank all those that are involved in that. In addition, we do have a new website called Final Site, so our data team is working with Dr. Watkins to ensure a smooth transition, and the data migration will take place over the summer to make sure that everything runs smoothly. A special announcement, as Mr. Hernandez alluded to, we are bringing in 34 Promethean boards. We were able to utilize, with the help of Mr. Hernandez and also Mr. Garcia, a grant. So essentially we doubled our purchasing power. We had $70,000 of money that was earmarked for next year to purchase Promethean boards, and we were able to replace that with a grant and take advantage of a buy one, get one offer. So essentially we were looking to bring in between 12 and 16, and we're bringing in about 34 Promethean boards. And it is about $140,000 swing in the favor of Millbrook, because that $70,000 was earmarked for next year's funds, and that's something that can come off of our budget. That's all I have for you.
What's a Promethean?
I know, I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
like,
Sorry,
so
thank you.
basically what it is, it's like a 75-inch flat screen TV that teachers can utilize to basically turn into like a little computer. Does that make sense? If you want to look at that board, for example, it's touchscreen. It can sync with any type of software that we have. So essentially, it's just a very cool way to deliver instruction. It's very interactive. It's tactile. It's auditory. It's visual. Students really engage with it. It's a really cool tool for our teachers to utilize as they're delivering instruction.
I do have one question, sorry, I don't know. The computer-based testing. So I can get this back up to the page here. So I know that I think it's the ELA testing is going to be computer-based. And especially with like the younger kids in elementary. So that's brand new this year to be computer-based for ELA?
It's new for some grades. It was computer-based in some grades last year.
Okay. Does that make it more difficult for them? You know, I'm just picturing like pen and paper versus not my kid per se, maybe my kid per se, trying to, you know, a younger child trying to navigate the computer versus a paper test.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not-
think that we have to consider the fact that they are digital natives, right? So I agree with you. I'm much more of an analog person. But these children have grown up with, you know, devices in their hands, since very young ages. Is it going to be more difficult? I think it's going to be something they need to get used to, but, after a while, this is going to be the only option. So there will, unless there's a reason why a child would need a specific combination of paper, it's all going to be digital. And I know that the teachers have also been working with them in practicing the same skills that they would do on paper, highlighting, annotating, all of that. They've been working with them in the digital environment doing those things.
Does that, so say it kind of affected the results of the test, what does that do? Like, does that affect funding for this, or does that affect like leveling them? You know what I mean? Like, if they score, you know, good, better, best on these tests, what's the consequence in that?
Yeah, so there's no consequence.
Yeah, it's the wrong word, because I know it's optional. So. but
Well, it's
we
actually
do it-
not optional.
Well,
The testing is not optional. Parents in some
Refuse.
cases refuse testing, but the testing is not optional,
there you go,
so
that's better words.
yes. So what I can say to you is that this is one metrics that's used in making decisions in terms of the types of support that we match students with. It's one thing. So this might be the thing that says, well, we need to look a little bit closer about, you know, what Caroline Hernandez is able to do. She scored a 2, for example. But then we're going to go back to the teacher and look at the standards aligned, you know, assessments that they do throughout the school year. We're going to look at other assessments that we use for benchmarking and make a decision that's like triangulated with data rather than just this one thing and that's it. And they're going to AIS and, you know, if they need this support, we're going to match them with those supports. But if this is a fluke, and I mean, that's the tough part with any, you know, couple-day test
Right.
in the end of the school year, right? I mean, you could just have something emotional happen and not score well. Doesn't necessarily mean you need any support, you know?
Is there a way for us to set up some sort, because they're gonna face this, whether it's the GREs or whatever that's going forward, they're gonna face
Right.
this stuff.
Right.
I mean, if we could get them comfortable with this stuff now.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why they've been using that.
They do have samples, like Mr. Hernandez said, that from New York State, so they click on them, they get to see what the testing environment looks like, they get to review the questions just like they would be printed, but on the screen, and they see where the highlighter is or the notes tab. I know some of the teachers are electing to have them do their annotations still on paper because the students process better by writing it out, but then they would select their answer. But I think the other thing too to consider is that they're used to IXL and they've been doing their assessments, those reading assessments, and those are online. So they already have that familiarity with selecting their answers using a mouse and keyboard, that type of thing. But I think it is just like Mr. Hartswick said, it's just a matter of them becoming more familiar, and because we're trying to do it before New York State mandates it.
And it's on their own Google Chromebooks.
So
they're
my
practicing.
understanding, Mr. Garcia or Edmonton, because you're familiar with the CBT too, they have a particular browser that they have to use for the CBT that locks them, their computer down.
So what we did was in preparation of this, we made sure that every student that's gonna take the CBT test has access to that application on their computer.
Okay.
Like Dr. Watkins said, we did pass out the URL, so basically that's the website domain that teachers are giving out to students to familiarize themselves with the practice website, so they can see sample questions like you alluded to, in preparation for this. But we made sure that each and every Chromebook for every single student has that application on it. So when the time comes, it's going to be a really smooth transition. They're familiar with it, and so there is a comfort level that's associated with it.
Okay. I know the computer-based testing has been discussed in this room, and also you mentioned it on Millbrook Minute last Friday. But unless I'm mistaken, I didn't see it in the newsletters or the Google. So I'm wondering, can that be put out in at least the April newsletter at the end of the week, because that could affect
I
whether.
believe and I think you may have referred to this, the survey that went out, and that's gone into both the Millbrook Minute, but also in the newsletter. I believe is asking parents to review and state their intentions on taking both the math and the ELA, so they have been putting that in the newsletter.
Yes, but nowhere on there, I could be mistaken, but I didn't see anywhere on that form that it said it would be
computerized, so I'm thinking of, you know,
I'll
all
double
the.
check. I'll double check. I
Yeah.
believe he used the CBT testing, so I'm not sure if that's what he said, but that's what they would, that's what the description was talking about. But if not, I'll make sure that
Okay,
their April newsletter clarifies that.
all right, thank you.
Maybe just for people like me, spell out computer history.
Yeah, I'll double check.
CBT means something very different in my field.
And it would only
We
be-
definitely need consent for that.
CBT. No, it's CBT.
Yeah.
That's something. But you could hear it differently.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for all these new machines that just came in, we have the money for maintenance, the money for installation, all that stuff.
Mhm.
Are you talking about for the community board?
Yeah,
Yeah, so, we have projected quotes for not only Chromebooks, staff laptops, all the hardware specs for the 2023-2024 school year already, and we're in process and, I'm working closely with Mr. Garcia to make sure, that our numbers add up, and that we're well within cushion for the school year, but we do have projected costs, for everything that we anticipate bringing in addition to these committee boards do have a 5-year warranty, basically cover to cover, to come up with mounting installation. I had spoken with Chief Mullins and his department as far as installation of the boards. We do not foresee any problem whatsoever. We have started the conversations with building leaders to talk about where those boards are going to be located. So those conversations are ongoing. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't had any pickups to date, as far as the types of machines that we're bringing in or any of the coordinating vendors.
very good. Maybe at some point, not tonight, but at some point, maybe you could either have one set up someplace, take us through,
Mm.
you know, what they're gonna do with them, how they work, that kind of stuff. I know it's, you know, you gotta find one and have it set up someplace,
Yeah,
but
we actually have one building.
We have a different model, but the ones that we've ordered over the last 2 years are similar in size and function.
okay, yeah, I mean, it's not like urgent to get it on the agenda, but I think it would be helpful.
What if they did a video, just so you can play it?
Yeah.
And you can do it during the day, and just like
Mhm.
2-minute video, it's easier.
Mm, and the, somewhere. Could have swore I just had it. There was some more upgrades, there it is. There were some more upgrades due, I think, to our security camera system. Is that all in the budget for moving forward, or?
Yeah, so we have upgrades that are in progress this year. We do, as part of our budget process, I think 2 years ago, we maintained an allocation under the smart fund, for the smart schools. Safe Act, thank you.
Yeah.
Safe Act, I did it next time. So the Safe Act allows us to receive dollar for dollar reimbursements up to $35,000 a year for security cameras. And so we've had that as a fixed budget item annually. As long as we keep the unit costs under 2,000, we get all that money back in revenue from the state.
And same kind of question, are the vape sensors in this building, or are they?
We were still waiting for network power adapters to hook them up. We have received the units. But once we get the power adapters, the cabling is already in place and they'll be installed. The existing ones will be replaced and new ones will be installed throughout both the middle school and high school.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Elliot or Evan? Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. All right, okay. Next we go to question comments from the public. Just the usual reminder, we don't do personnel discussions. And we really look for you to keep this on topics that are on the agenda. Okay, anything, and do you guys? If you could just give us your name and, you know.
Good evening. My name is Carol Foley. I am actually here on behalf of my daughter and son-in-law, Devin and Nick here. So, and we're unable to be here tonight.
I'm Heather Patines. I'm here with Carol for the same issue.
Devin and Nick had written a letter to the board. I don't know if each of you received it, it was sent. I have it here to read, if you would like. It speaks about, an issue at Elm Drive that is currently happening. So would you mind if I just read it? It's just much easier, or
As long as it doesn't mention a student's
there are
name.
no names,
Okay,
absolutely not. That's very, yeah, no, not at all. So to whom it may concern, we wish to address this Board of Education regarding the situation at Elm Drive Elementary School. It has come to our attention via our children, who are both students at Elm Drive, regarding the behavior of a specific student. Our children have told us that there's a student who's extremely disruptive to the classrooms and has in fact been physical with adults. Stated that he is afraid of the student. He states that the student on several occasions has been in his classroom without invitation, with no reason, and with not an adult present except for the teacher that was in the class during classroom time. Disruptive to them. Our children both have IEPs and are diagnosed with ADHD, which makes them easily distracted from the studies, and disruptions by this student make it more difficult for them and other students. With the knowledge this child has been physical with adults, and as a parent of children in the school, how can the board assure us that this child in question will not assault or hurt any children or put the district at risk with their actions? Beyond everything else, it's the district's responsibility that this child gets the proper and appropriate care and education that they are so in need of, apparently. Keeping this child physically in the school doesn't seem to be an appropriate choice that is obviously very disruptive to other children and staff. One could possibly say that these disruptive, distracting, and aggressive behaviors do not facilitate a calm and appropriate learning space for any of the students. To date, any actions taken so far don't seem to be resolving the matter. It would seem that the child would be better served in a school environment that's appropriate for them. My daughter had spoken to Ms. O'Connell regarding their concerns about their children. And the interactions that child has with her son. She's indicated that the principal indicated awareness of the situation, however, there doesn't seem to be any resolution. They are asking that the board review the situation in depth with an eye to protecting the staff and the students of Elm Drive and possibly the school district itself from potential legal ramifications.
My child also goes to the school. She has voiced that she is scared of going in. There has been multiple codes called where the children don't really know what's going on, and it's kind of frightening for younger children. This child has also now started getting aggressive with children, besides the staff. I went into the school for a classroom reader thing, and I witnessed this child escape from the building. And how is that safe, not only for this child, but also for the children that are at the school? So safety concern is paramount here.
We just wanted to bring it to the attention of the board.
yeah, Carol, and we're aware of the situation. We can't discuss the situation.
Absolutely not. We're not, I'm
want
not
you to know
asking for that. We're
But
just, this is solely the reason that we're here. So the knowledge that you're aware of it is helpful, a little comforting. I just hope that there is a resolution sooner than later, because it's boiling.
very good, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We can assure you it will be discussed. It will be discussed, not in public.
No.
Discussed by the board
Absolutely.
and the superintendent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything online?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, BOCES, March spotlight, just, you know, for your entertainment. Actually, there was, the ribbon cutting is April 15th. I plan to go, but, if anybody would like to join me, should be, an interesting day. I also am meant to say during the president's report, April village board meeting. And I think I said it to you guys, but on April something. I'm going to the village board meeting primarily just to listen. You know, we've not heard from anyone about issues with traffic, other than I'm talking more about Alden, not anywhere else. But I'm gonna go, I promised Tim, the mayor, that I would go and listen to what folks had to say. Bring it back to you all and we'll see if there's something we need to do. Were you gonna, you guys?
I'm a maybe still.
And I'll go. I think you said it was April 12th. That's what I heard.
Yeah, the second Wednesday.
In my phone.
Yes, it's
Yes.
April 12th.
At the firehouse. maybe. Oh, I can go. And then,
Cool. It's, like I said, it's not a board meeting and just there to listen. Enrollment report. For your entertainment. The serve, again, the mentioned incident report, just for your information. PTO report. Dina, you there?
I'm here. Yes, I'm sorry, you couldn't see me before, but I'm here.
PTO report, anything?
Okay. So we just had the Ned show at Alden and Elm and raising some money for the district for the purchase of yo-yos. We just finished up our Gertrude Hawk fundraiser. Our district sold over $10,000, which has been the most in the past 3 years. And on April 26th, we have our yoga presentation with the instructor that's currently at Elm, who's coming into Alden. To do a presentation for the entire school. And there is, I believe we just had this past weekend or week, the middle dance at the middle school that was PTO sponsored.
Yeah. Very good, thanks, Ian. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, MEF report, Chris?
sure. We are, as long as the district, would like us to do this, we're going to fund the graduation signs for all the graduating seniors this year. So we're happy to do that. And again, we're down, well, not down, but we have around 12, 13 trustees now. So we're eager and open to have some more people join. If anyone out there is interested, or if anyone out there wants to nominate someone, we'll get in touch. So we're starting to ramp up for Taste of Millbrook in September and getting our sponsor letters out soon. And then also we'll be seeking auction items too. So if you have any ideas, know anyone, send them our way.
Very good.
No.
Any questions? All right, future agenda items, we talked about a couple of things. One of the, I'm not sure what we're gonna do, but we've had quite a bit of trouble getting feedback from the fire departments on, related to this, credit, I guess you would call it. And we're gonna keep trying, but
Which departments you get in trouble with?
It's probably easier for me to tell you who responded. It was Unionville, LaGrange, Pleasant Valley, and your department.
Yeah, East Clinton.
Clinton.
So what's left is Millbrook. And which is, they have a board of directors. I'll reach out to the fire commissioner, with East Clinton. I'll try to reach out to their board of directors, or I have to reach out to the town of Washington for something else fire related, so I can reach out through the supervisor, Gary, what's his last name, Savary?
it's very.
Gary Savary. I'll reach out to him, so.
Okay.
And I put a call into Matt too, Matt Rutherford. And this was just a few days ago, so he was gonna try to, but,
Okay,
um,
I'll try to get through it. I'll go start at the top and let them kick it.
they,
All right, I'll get an answer by next time.
very good.
Thank
All right. All right, with that, we're probably going to executive session. However, I want everybody to know that we may, based on what is discussed in executive session, we may come back to public session for votes on motions or actions that we need to take. So with that, do I have a motion to go to executive session?
Perry, I'm sorry, I meant to ask something in new business. It's something, I know it's something little, but it does affect 4 of us. So I was wondering, should those of us who don't have a badge still go to Alden Photo Day? How should we get our badge?
Now you got the little job, this thing, right?
Aha.
Yeah, okay. So.
I know Alden Photo Day is Thursday, so that's why I'm bringing it up, or.
Yes, you can do that. And then I can work with Jason.
So
So
we're-
just show up and.
Want to see you stand in line.
Penetration test.
Yeah.
I'll let
Well,
Julie
they
know.
always come out.
That's not gonna work. You guys have fobs.
Just squat down.
Oh, but
I
I mean,
thought you were doing new badges that, so we didn't.
Or-
Yeah.
We will be with
Yeah.
the new system and we'll be able to
or we
bring,
don't have to, that's.
well,
fine.
what you can do is take your picture and we can have a plain printed ID badge like Mr. Hartswick is wearing. And then when the new system comes online, I can take those photos and put them on the new RFID badges that will replace both your badge and your.
Keep on it. I mean, you could send me a headshot.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I don't
And I
have to
just
go in and stand in line with the kids.
Yeah,
You
so
have
you
it.
can do that.
Aren't you on the website already?
Yeah. I guess.
Mine still says 2020.
Mhm. I have these in
All right,
Okay, that's,
cool.
all right,
Where was I?
that's it, motion.
Motion.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Who did the motion?
I'll do the motion.
I interrupted.
Oh,
She interrupted my motion.
I interrupted.
Jen Squash. Second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? All right.